Assalamualaikum and good evening to Miss Aisha. I am Nur Batrisyia binti Muhammad Faisal. Today I will be doing a video presentation of my previous assignment, and that is assessment 1, and this is the assessment 2. I'm going to explain the introduction and table of contents that is included in my presentation today. The first one would be original document overview. The next one is purpose of the presentation. The third one is errors found, that is language, content, and context errors. The fourth one would be my summary of what I learned. And the fifth one, conclusion. The last one will be references. And that is all for the introduction part. Thank you so much. For this part, I'm going to tell you the title of my original document, and that is conversation theory. I've put the highlighted version of it, and I need to identify three main categories of errors, and that is language errors, content and context errors. I need to put the example, corrections, and justification of errors that I already found in each category. Also, I need to put the impact of these errors on academic writing quality and put the key lessons I learned from proofreading and editing the document. And that is all for this part. Thank you. For this section, I will be discussing about the language errors that I found in my document. The first one is spelling error, and the word is acknowledgement. As you can see, it was missing a letter C, and it will confuse the reader. Next is the phrase conversation is a joint activity, where joint should be changed to joint because the sentence requires an adjective. The last one is the last one in the table is contains redundancy, such as more than one or many people. So the correction is conversation at least two people, because we do not imply multiple people or at many people, because it is unnecessary duplication. And that is the explanation for this part. Moving on, the next language errors involve pronoun usage and subject verb agreement. For example, the conversation theory also has their role in our life. It uses the wrong pronoun, and conversation theory is a singular subject, so it must use a singular possessive pronoun it. Another example is conversation theory have their importances which should be corrected to the conversation theory has its importance. These errors affect grammatical accuracy and the quality of the academic writing. That is all for this part. Thank you so much. We are at the final language error that involve punctuation and sentence structure. For example, in this conversation, people explain things, ask questions, think about what they mean. There's a missing comma in between that would probably confuse the readers. If it's added, it will improve the sentence flow. The next one is it happens when people explain things to each other, talk about it, and then give each feedback. That explains why is it a run-on sentence, because people will confuse by reading it. So proper punctuation helps readers understand the message more clearly and improve the overall readability of the document. That is all. That is the end of language errors that I've explained for my video presentation. Thank you so much. Next, I will discuss the content errors found in the document. One of the main issues is the repetition of ideas, especially in the explanation of conversation theory. And for example, I can give you in my document, the history part contains repetition of what is conversation theory. The document repeats similar information without adding new points. In addition, some explanation lack detail, making the discussion less clear and less informative. These issues reduce the depth and effectiveness of the academic discussion. And that is all for my context error preview overview. Thank you so much. Lastly, I will be discussing about the context errors I identified in the document, and one of the example is the inclusion of personal phone numbers in the biodata section, which is unnecessary for an academic report. Another issue is the inconsistency tone used throughout the document. These errors may affect the professionalism of the report and make it less suitable for its intended academic audiences. One of them is our lecturer. And that is all my explanation from language, content, and context error. That's all for me. Thank you so much. To summarize the assignment that involved analyzing a report on conversation theory, it helps me develop on how to identify and analyze language, content, and context errors. I also understood the importance of using grammar, spelling, punctuation, and sentence structure correctly and professionally. Also, when we were overusing redundancy and repetition, it may reduce the effectiveness and the quality of our work. Last but not least, writing academic content should be well developed, relevant, and supported by sufficient explanation, such as a reference. And that is all of the summary and what I've learned throughout this assignment. Thank you so much. In conclusion, the document I used did contain language, content, and context errors that may affect its overall quality. For example, language errors such as grammar and spelling mistakes reduce clarity and professionalism. Next, the content errors include repetition and lack of theoretical depth, which will weaken the academic discussion. And lastly, context errors involve unnecessary information such as the contact phone number and using an inconsistent tone, making the document less suitable for its intended audience. And that is the end of my video presentation. Thank you so much.